So as the morning began, there was a report from Axios that cited 4 officials saying that a deal was on the horizon between Iran and the U.S., that there was a one-page memorandum, a agreed upon set of principles, so to speak, that would end the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz and end the war between Iran and the U.S. and lead to a possible broader negotiation on issues such as Iran's nuclear program and the Strait of Hormuz, and perhaps even other issues between the two countries. And then, just like a few hours later, you had Donald Trump getting on the phone with PBS. Yes, a PBS reporter caught him on the phone in the morning at the White House, apparently. And he said, actually, basically, that the things that the Americans were demanding were that Iran has to give up its entire nuclear program. It can't have enrichment. It has to give all of its nuclear material over to the United States. These are non-starters for Iran, as anyone knows. So basically, he's saying that there can be no deal. And then you had Israel launching airstrikes again against Lebanon, very aggressive airstrikes that appeared designed to end any talk of a peace between Iran and the U.S. I'm Borzou Dergahi. This is my podcast and part of my Substack newsletter. It's called Badlands. You can find me at borzou.substack.com. I'm also on YouTube and on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So anyway, these were some of the developments today, and it comes after this really pathetic, it was called Project Freedom, which they announced on Monday. This was an attempt by the U.S. administration to, break the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz by convincing enough ships to start moving through the Strait of Hormuz with a kind of tepid U.S. guarantee, or at least the guidance from the U.S. And the pathetic part is that this was announced Monday morning and then ended Tuesday evening. So that just shows it was a trial balloon that apparently failed. It didn't seem to give the U.S. anything it wanted. It neither reduced the escalation cycle in the Middle East between Iran and the U.S., nor did it actually bring about a bunch of ships. Did it convince a bunch of ships to cross? Because those ships, they don't care what the Americans say. They don't care what the Iranians say. They care what their insurance brokers say. And their insurance brokers say the Strait of Hormuz is a no-go. I spoke about some of these subjects today on NewsX. It was a quick interview, and you can listen in right now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dergahi, for joining us. Now, what exactly is the situation? And President Trump, is he making things worse by making such statements, including people from his administration, on giving wrong hope or these kind of statements?
Well, I think that he's doing what he does best, which is play a domestic political game and trying to appease his own supporters and so on. The problem is this is an international crisis. The other problem is it's an international crisis that he created and that only he can get out of. But for him to get out of that crisis, he's going to have to get some egg on his face. He's going to have to show some humility. He's going to have to basically admit in some way or another that there is no deal better than the one that he tore up in 2018, the nuclear deal that Barack Obama forged. And so that's going to be really hard for him because he's a narcissist and he's not able of displaying any kind of humility or backing off and so on. So he's in a very tough situation right now.
And what about Iranians? What is their situation? Do they still have place to continue this war? Who exactly is going to green light, if we are seeing any green light, of course that is, about this 14-point deal that's been passed to U.S. and also any kind of deal? Well,
according to the latest, the Iranians are saying that they have not yet responded to the deal. Yes. They have not yet made a response to the proposal that the U.S. has made. And the U.S. and to some extent, Iranians are slow walking this proposal because they believe that time is on their side. They see the panic in Trump One data point that shows the panic is this ill-fated, the way they're taking advantage of the Americans is this proposal that they issued, this plan for the Persian Gulf, this really arrogant document that they issued where they're basically asking everyone who wants to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, you got to put Persian Gulf, you can't write Arabian Gulf on the document. They imply that there is going to be fees, that there's a new framework for passing what was previously a international transit passageway in the Strait of Hormuz, and they're basically bolstering and solidifying and institutionalizing their control over the Strait of Hormuz.
And moving forward, where do you see Israel's role? How aligned are U.S. and Israel?
I think the Israelis are looking at what the Americans are doing and the direction they're going, and there's a little bit of a panic there. You can see it in the social media comments of some of the people who are close to Israel in the United States, how they're basically trying to either criticize any attempt by Trump to go back to something that looks like the former nuclear deal, or trying to basically say this is temporary, trying to cover up for Trump. I think that the problem is for the Israelis is that Trump is not a man of principle. He doesn't have a lot of ideals. He didn't support Israel because he believes in Zionism or the state of Israel or anything like that. He did it because he got $250 million from Israeli donors, including Miriam Adelson, for his 2024 presidential campaign. These are his friends. These are the people that he plays golf with at Mar-a-Lago. So it's not really about principle. And so once it became clear that it was a choice between Israel and Trump, Trump is going to go with Trump.
Now, what's your take on the alignment of between Iran and China? And also, why do you think this particular timing suggests of Foreign Minister Araghchi's visit to China?
I mean, Iran considers China its main international patron. China buys most of Iran's oil, and Iran sees China as a little bit of a protector. They're both part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, this alternative to NATO, this bloc of Eurasian and other countries of the global south that are trying to get aligned on monetary and security policy. But I think that Araghchi could be presenting an optimistic spin, because I don't think China is as delighted with the outcome of this war as the Iranians would like to make it out. The Chinese see this as very disruptive. They are not exactly enamored with the Iranians' behavior. I'm sure things like putting tolls on the transit through the Persian Gulf, that's not something that the Chinese want to see. So as much as the Iranians want to believe that China is this great protector and great ally, I think China has different interests. China needs to sort out its relations with the United States. China also has considerable partnerships with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, also big producers for China's industry, big oil producers. So I don't think it's as simple and friendly as Araghchi makes it out. On the other hand, Iran, in the view of China and much of the rest of the world, just give the United States a big black eye. That's enough for China. They don't need to. It doesn't need to be prolonged further. You don't need to drag this out and cause any more damage to the global economy. But I think that China is probably pleased at seeing the failure of the United States in this entire operation. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Borzu Daragahi. This is my podcast. It's called Badlands. You can subscribe to my newsletter. It's at borzu.substack.com. I am also on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Look for me and subscribe. Thank you so much.